Throughout history, the world has seen its fair share of leaders. Some good, some decidedly less so. And then there are those whose reigns were so profoundly marked by tyranny and oppression that their names echo through time as warnings. We're talking, of course, about dictators. Now you might be thinking, Goat, this is heavy stuff. Can't we just watch videos of cats riding Roombas? And look, I hear you. Believe me, I spend a frankly embarrassing amount of time doing exactly that. But the thing is, we can't just ignore the dark chapters of history. Because as much as we'd like to pretend otherwise, those chapters, they have a nasty habit of repeating themselves. So today we're taking a long, hard look at some of the worst dictators of all time. Buckle up, kids, it's going to get bleak. Adolf Hitler. Where do we even begin? This is a man who managed to turn moustache grooming into a hate symbol, which frankly takes a special kind of evil genius. Hitler's rise to power in Germany was fueled by a toxic cocktail of national humiliation after World War I, economic instability, and, let's be honest, a whole lot of really effective propaganda. Once in control, he swiftly dismantled democracy, transforming Germany into a totalitarian state. He scapegoated minorities, particularly Jews, blaming them for all of Germany's problems, which, spoiler alert, they didn't cause. And then, well, there's the small matter of the Holocaust, the systematic, state-sponsored persecution and murder of 6 million Jews. 6 million. It's a number so staggering it's almost impossible to comprehend, but beyond the sheer scale of the genocide, it's crucial to remember the individual stories. The families torn apart, the lives cut tragically short, the futures stolen. Hitler's reign of terror plunged the world into World War II, a conflict that claimed the lives of an estimated 40 to 85 million people. It was a conflict driven by his insatiable thirst for power and his twisted ideology. The man was, to put it mildly, bad news. Like finding a spider in your banana bad news, but on a global scale. His name has become synonymous with evil, a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked hatred and the devastating consequences of indifference. We can't afford to forget the lessons of Hitler's reign, ever. From Nazi Germany, we travel eastward to the Soviet Union, where Joseph Stalin, a man with a name that literally means man of steel, ruled with an iron fist. And much like trying to make a smoothie with an iron fist, it didn't go well for anyone. Stalin's brand of communism was less about workers' paradise and more about paranoia, purges, and an awful lot of forced labor. He was obsessed with consolidating his power, eliminating anyone he perceived as a threat, real or imagined. And when we say eliminating, we're not talking about strongly worded letters of disapproval. We're talking about the Great Purge, a period of intense political repression that saw millions of people executed or sent to gulags. Gulags, by the way, were not fun summer camps. They were brutal labor camps where prisoners were subjected to unimaginable conditions. Stalin's paranoia extended even to his own party members, many of whom found themselves on the wrong end of his purges. It's hard to run a country when you're constantly worried about whether your comrades are secretly plotting against you. Which, to be fair, they probably were. But paranoia wasn't Stalin's only downfall. His disastrous agricultural policies, like the forced collectivization of farms, led to widespread famine. Millions died of starvation, a stark testament to the human cost of his policies. Stalin's reign of terror lasted for decades, leaving an indelible scar on the Soviet Union. It's a chilling reminder that even in the name of ideology, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And also, maybe don't name your kid Man of Steel if you don't want them to turn into a ruthless dictator. Chapter 3, Mao Zedong, the Chairman of Chaos. Next up, we head to China, where Mao Zedong, the founding father of the People's Republic of China, decided to really lean into that whole absolute power thing. Spoiler alert, it went about as well as you'd expect. Mao's vision for China involved a great leap forward, which, despite sounding like the name of a particularly ambitious frog, was anything but. This attempt to rapidly transform China from an agrarian society into an industrial powerhouse was, to put it mildly, a catastrophic failure. forced collectivization of agriculture led to widespread famine, and the government's insistence on unrealistic production quotas resulted in, well, a lot of useless backyard furnaces. It's estimated that tens of millions of people died as a direct result of the Great Leap Forward. That's a lot of lives lost in the name of progress. But Mao wasn't done yet. Oh no, he had another trick up his sleeve. The Cultural Revolution. This socio-political movement aimed to purge capitalist and traditional elements from Chinese society and solidify Mao's grip on power. What does purging capitalist elements from society look like, you ask? Well, it involved widespread persecution of intellectuals, the destruction of cultural artifacts, and a whole lot of public shaming. It was a period of intense social upheaval and violence. Mao's legacy is a complex one. He's revered by some as the father of modern China, but his brutal policies and disregard for human life cannot be ignored. He serves as a stark reminder that even revolutions fought in the name of the people can go horribly, tragically wrong. Chapter 4, Pol Pot, the Butcher of Cambodia. Hold on tight, folks, because we're about to delve into one of the darkest chapters of human history, the Cambodian genocide. At the heart of this horror show was Pol Pot, the leader of the Khmer Rouge regime. This guy took the whole year zero concept a bit too literally, deciding to wipe the slate clean in Cambodia. And by wipe the slate clean, I mean he oversaw the systematic extermination of nearly 2 million people. That's roughly a quarter of Cambodia's population. Pol Pot's vision for Cambodia involved transforming it into an agrarian utopia. But there was a slight problem with this plan. He had absolutely no idea how to actually run a country, let alone transform it into an agrarian utopia. Under his rule, cities were evacuated, money was abolished, religion was banned, and anyone deemed an intellectual was targeted for elimination. And by intellectual, we're talking anyone who could read, wear glasses, or, express a thought that didn't involve planting rice. The killing fields of Cambodia stand as a chilling testament to the horrors inflicted by the Khmer Rouge regime. These were mass graves where victims of the regime were executed and buried. Pol Pot's reign was mercifully short, but the scars he left on Cambodia run deep. His legacy is a chilling reminder of the dangers of unchecked ideology and the fragility of peace. Chapter 5. Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il, the Dynasty of Darkness. And finally, we arrive in North Korea, home to the world's longest-running family business dictatorship. It all started with Kim Il-sung, the eternal president of North Korea. This is a man who clearly missed the memo about term limits because he decided to rule for, forever, or at least until his death in 1994. But don't worry, the dictatorship torch was passed on to his son, Kim Jong-il, and then to his grandson, Kim Jong-un. Talk about keeping it in the family. Under the Kim dynasty, North Korea has become synonymous with isolation, human rights abuses, and a whole lot of really strange propaganda. This is a country where the internet is basically non-existent for most citizens, where criticizing the government can land you in a labor camp, and where the leaders are worshipped with a level of devotion that would make even the most self-absorbed celebrity blush. North Korea's human rights record is nothing short of abysmal. Citizens are denied basic freedoms such as freedom of speech, freedom of the press, and freedom of assembly. Forced labor, torture, and arbitrary detention are commonplace. And let's not forget about the whole nuclear weapons program, which is just a really unsettling side hustle for a country struggling to feed its own people. The Kim dynasty has managed to maintain its grip on power through a combination of fear, propaganda, and a cult of personality that would make even the most ardent Beatlemaniac question their sanity. It's a stark reminder that the fight for freedom and human rights is far from over. So there you have it, a whirlwind tour of some of the worst dictators in human history. Adolf Hitler, whose actions led to unparalleled destruction and loss of life. Joseph Stalin, responsible for the Great Purge and widespread famine. Mao Zedong, whose policies caused the deaths of millions during the Great Leap Forward. Pol Pot, who orchestrated the Cambodian genocide. Kim Il-sung, the architect of North Korea's oppressive regime. Idi Amin, whose brutal rule in Uganda left a trail of bloodshed. These dictators left indelible marks on history, serving as grim reminders of the consequences of absolute power. Their legacies are a testament to the human capacity for both great evil and extraordinary resilience. Let us learn from the past to build a better future. A future where human rights are respected, where freedom reigns supreme, and where we remember history to prevent future atrocities. By honoring the lessons learned, we can foster a world of resilience and hope.